This is Contractor Sense with Ruth King.
Welcome to Contractor Sense. Here you discover ideas, tactics, news, and information that matters to your contracting business and you. I'm your host, Ruth King. This episode is sponsored by Profitability Movement. Google Profitability-Movement to join this community of business owners focused on building profit, increasing wealth, and giving back. Thank you for joining us. Here's how we will help your business and you today. We get stuck in the trees. We know that we need to work on our businesses, yet the day-to-day employee, customer, and financial issues take all of our time and attention. How do you break through this and find the time to grow, to do the things that will get your business to the next level? My guest today, Jeani Ringkob, will give you ideas for strategic growth that help you protect your resources while implementing the procedures to get your company where you want it to be. Jeani, welcome to Contractor Sense.
Thank you. Super excited to be here with you.
Oh, I'm happy to have you. I mean, we had in our conversation that we had before we actually started recording this, you and I had some very similar things that we do with respect to understanding that it's not only the day-to-day, it's working on the business as well as working in the business. So,
right.
Why don't you give everybody who's listening just a little bit of background? I prefer to let my guests do that rather than me picking something out.
Okay, fair enough. So I actually I grew up in the industry. I grew up in an asphalt business. I'm third generation contractor. And so it's like a rubber band. Like you try to leave, you try to do something else, but once you've been here and if it's in your blood, I feel like, the best of us always snap back to it. It's a great culture. It's great work to be doing. So I've had some stints in some other industries, but I'm going on probably getting close to over 25 years in the industry. And have also worked outside of my family's business with Coke Industries and some other great companies, and then did a stint in the ag world as well. And then really decided I wanted to be able to, I love watching business owners really grow beyond and always hit that next level. And that's kind of where I lit up and got excited. So I now have started my own business where I can help contractors, construction business owners, really partner with them and help them, get clear and focused on how are they going to keep their business growing without losing track of all that day-to-day stuff that has to have their attention.
Yeah, it's almost like you've got to run the day-to-day, but you also got to look outside of the day-to-day. And it's really a strategic thing in the strategic growing, right? So
right.
I see so many contractors get mired in the day-to-day and they burn out.
Right. I think it's really easy to do. And there's so many moving parts when you're, and the risks are big, the investments are big, you have people, you have equipment, you have scheduling, you have insurance, bonding, all the things. So there's so much going on. So you really can't, it's hard to pull back and think about, okay, what's next for my business? Where's my business maybe bottlenecked? Or is there some pinch points or pain points? Because we might not even see them or feel them. And it's really hard to step back from it and kind of take a diagnostic approach and look at your business and figure out what is the thing that's keeping me from getting to that next level, or what is the next big opportunity? Because we just see what we're used to seeing and what we're comfortable seeing, and we see it every day. Yeah. And it can be really hard.
Well, and the other thing is that a lot of times there are opportunities we miss because we're not looking at things that, other than keeping our head down, keeping our head focused on what we're doing and all those types of things. So
absolutely. I think it's easy to not be looking for it, but then to be thinking about, I recently had a conversation with a long-term friend and client who approached me and said, hey, I'm thinking that I might want to start another business. I want to start something that, I can do in the off season, which I hear this a lot, depending on, geographically where you are and what type of construction industry you're in. So I hear this. And we guys start talking a little bit more about, hey, well, what's going on? What's the last couple of years look like? It's going great. I had to just turn down a $6 million job, he tells me, because I don't think I can hire another crew. And I said, oh, stop. Like, but you want to start another, but like, why don't we fix this problem? Like, you already have this business. You already have an incredible reputation. You already have the equipment. You have the people. You have the skills. You have all this. And workforce is a big pain point for a lot of people right now, but it's a fixable pain point. It just takes us really saying, I'm going to stop and look at this problem and figure out how to fix it, because it's impacting my business. It's a bottleneck in my business. And I want to have an advantage over the competition because they're suffering from the same problem.
Right.
So,
yeah. And almost everybody has that issue. And those
yes,
who are very creative about attracting people, finding people, doing things that get people's attention are generally the ones who succeed better than everybody else. So how do you get them to start thinking about it and basically say, the day-to-day is critical, but how do I invest the time, make the time, whatever you want to say, to spend an hour, 15 minutes, whatever, to do this?
I think part of it is there's kind of this fear of like, what if I invest the time, but it doesn't have a payout, or I don't really get what I hope to get out of investing that time, because time is such a precious commodity for everybody, but for a leader and an owner especially. So I think being able to give them a process and a system to follow where they can say, where do I start with this? How do I, because for most of us, we just don't even know where to start. And I think for a lot of us, it's about gathering. I joke with a lot of my clients, like I'm kind of like their own personal geek. Like, first off, I geek out about the industry because I grew up in the industry, but then I'm a geek about business. I love business. I research business. I study other businesses. I study models, strategies, all of that stuff all the time. The stuff that they're not excited about. They want to go, talk about equipment and projects and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Right? I have a different geek area. So they get to borrow my geekiness and I get to help them figure out, hey, where do we start? So I think a good starting point that I think with all of my clients is really important, and it lends itself to that geeky part of me, and probably being in an industry where I worked a lot with engineers and everything, and data and measuring and testing was really critical. I think we have to have data. We have to have qualitative and quantitative data. So I think it's really important that we stop and we start collecting that data. And a lot of times in our business, we lose those feedback loops from our customers, our partners, our team members, and we lose touch of some of those things that are going on.
Yeah, especially the financial piece too.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And especially if like that's not your comfort zone or where you're really strong, it's really easy to do that. So I think take the time to start collecting data. And if certain areas aren't your comfort zone, have people help you collect data. And I think when it comes to opportunities in our marketplace, we also have to look at multiple layers. We have to look at our own team, our own internal strengths and weaknesses. We have to look at our partners. We have to look at our customers. We have to look at our competition. And we have to look at all of those things, and we have to gather data from that and say, how do all these things line up? And then we look for bottlenecks, or we look for hurdles, and we look for opportunities. And if you show me a hurdle or a bottleneck in your business, I show you an opportunity. Like they're really one and the same. It's just the opposite side of the coin, I'm sorry. And but for an owner, it just feels like a problem, right? So to that example I went to earlier, it just felt like a problem that he just didn't think he could hire another crew. He didn't think he could find enough great people and get them onboarded. And I'm like, but that's an opportunity, because you know what? Everybody feels that way right now.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
nobody's taking the time to say, how do we solve this problem? Because really our workforce it's never going to be quite what it was before. It's never going to be exactly the same. The people that take the time to solve that problem are the people that are going to see huge surges in growth during this time.
Absolutely. So if somebody wants to contact you, how do they do that?
So I'm crazy. I'll just give out I give out my phone number, but then you can also contact me on my website as well. I actually have a really fun assessment tool that kind of helps people start to figure out where those bottlenecks are in their business. But people can just contact me directly. 720-441-7660 is my cell phone number. And I was like, gosh, you just give that out. But I'm like, yeah, I love talking to people. I love talking to owners, leaders. Let's have a conversation. So I think it's just fun. Those are fun conversations to have. And then my website, we have a really fun tool, and that's at storybuilt.marketing/assessment. And you can actually take a little assessment tool and get, of the different major big parts of your business, your sales, your marketing, your operations, your profitability. Where's the pain point probably at? And it'll help you kind of, instead of just wondering on everything, you can say, okay, this is probably where I need to start. And I can go here and look a little deeper right here.
Cool. We'll be right back. Thanks for listening to Contractor Sense.
Many times, relatives are recruited to do your company's books without knowing how to do the books. Or you hire a bookkeeper who really doesn't know bookkeeping. If this is you, then your books are probably inaccurate. You probably pay more taxes than you should, and you rarely look at a P&L and balance sheet because you know they are wrong. What do? Have your bookkeeper enroll in Ruth King's Contractor Bookkeeping Basics. After completing this online course, your bookkeeper will know bookkeeping. You'll get accurate financial statements that help you make good business financial decisions. To enroll, click on the link in the show notes or call us at 770-729-0258. Enroll today.
We're back. Thanks for listening to Contractor Sense. I'm with Jeani. Good. We're going to do it again because I said I screwed up her name before the break, and I apologize to her. Let's start this again. It's so much easier to redo it again.
Right.
5, 4, 3. Welcome back. Thanks for listening to Contractor Sense. I am speaking with Jeani Ringkob, who is a strategic coach, helps you get out of the weeds. I don't know. I think that's the best way to describe you, because that's what you really do, is you get contractors out of the weeds. You get them to the point where they are not buried in the trees and they can start looking at the forest and where they want to go and that type of thing. So does that work?
Absolutely. I think that's a good way. And it's an analogy that we can all relate to, right? We've all been there. And we all look up after one more season and go, oh, I didn't really spend the time to do all that stuff that I said I was going to do the year before and the year before that. And I don't really know what to do next.
Yeah. Yeah. This podcast is airing in December, and everybody does the quote unquote New Year's resolutions, which die in 2 weeks. Right. So this is much more than a New Year's resolution, correct?
Yes. This is, it's about thinking about your business strategically, and we have to, the leaders and the owners of businesses, that's really your number one job. But it's still hard because the business still relies on you for so many pieces. But you owe it to the business, you owe it to your team, your partners, your customers that you're serving, to step back and be saying, how can I do it better? What's next for us? Where else can I serve? How, what's next for this company that I'm building? So
you've got to be, as the leader, for all intents and purposes, be the visionary and have the management team manage your vision.
Right. And I think that gets hard, because especially if you have any seasonality to your business, and in the world of construction, we are problem solvers.
Yeah,
right.
There's seasonality. Yeah.
So much seasonality. And then we're problem solvers, because every single day there's a problem. And when you're expending that kind of energy, it's really hard to step away from the business and think about it and really think about. And sometimes we need outside perspective. We need somebody else who has a different point of view. Because I think even looking at other industries, you can find great inspiration. But for a lot of us, we just don't spend a lot of time looking at that kind of stuff. So sometimes you really want somebody to kind of look at that, that high level view with you and say, well, what about this? What's going on there? What are the opportunities there? Let's look a little closer.
Yeah. And look at it also from a perspective of, sometimes you, at least, I don't know about you, but I get my greatest ideas when I'm running.
Yeah.
Because I'm not thinking about, specifically any one thing, and I'm running along and oh, that's a great idea.
Right. Well, that's why they say like it's in the shower or it's when you're getting ready to go to bed. And I mean, there's actually studies that show that we need to find time to let our brains wander a little bit. And it's actually a survival mechanism that our brains use to be able to function better. But yet in the world we live in, we're constantly trying to avoid that, like it's a bad thing. But if we can let our minds get to a different place, not that in the trenches day-to-day place, but a different type of thinking where it's free to kind of wander and it gets a little bit more creative and it can see what is possible or, just see things, that's when all of a sudden you go, oh my gosh, well, what about that?
Mhm.
Or something that seems so obvious. I always tell my clients when we get through the research stage of stuff, or as we're going through that and we're doing interviews and surveys and we're collecting data, one of the things I tell them is quite often what we find to be the biggest opportunity or a huge profit area for your business or a cost savings area for your business is a golden nugget that's been sitting on the floor that's just dirty and dusty and everybody keeps stepping over it and getting annoyed by it. But nobody stops and says, what if we picked this up and dusted it off? Wow. What could we do with this?
Yeah.
So a lot of times the answers are right there. It's just a matter of identifying them, leaning into them, and coming up with a plan to leverage them.
Right. And so you help everybody, your clients, with the plans, right?
Right. So we start with that research phase and then identifying, what do we need to focus on? Because you are going to find more than one thing. Like there's always a lot of things that you could do, but you have to figure out which one should take a priority. And there's usually a certain order that you should do stuff in, right? So like profitability is pretty early on in that process. But if you don't have sales, if you're not making money, then really worrying about implementing maybe an automation process doesn't make sense, or worrying about scaling your business with a new type of product or service doesn't make sense, because what you need to do is you need to focus on sales. So I like to think of it as
sales.
like a hierarchy of needs for your business, right? Your business, if it can't get oxygen, it doesn't matter. You have to address certain things first. So it's also helpful to have a tool to help us prioritize when we find those opportunities and hurdles, which one do we need to prioritize first? And if we do that very systematically, we can actually grow at an accelerated rate.
Absolutely. So Jeani, give us your cell phone number again and your website number with the assessment.
Because people should totally hand out their cell phone number, right?
Right, yeah.
So my cell phone number is 720-441-7660. Text me, call me. I want to hear about your business.
And also give them the website so that they can do the assessment.
Yeah. The website is storybuilt.marketing/assessment to get that assessment tool.
Cool. Jeani, thanks so much for being with us.
Absolutely. I always, like I said, I like to talk about business. I like to geek out, and contractors, they are so essential to everything that happens. So I love to see them succeed. I love to see them hit it out of the ballpark.
You and me both. So thank you so much.
Yep.
And thanks to all of you for joining us. Choose one thing that you discovered and implement it in your business. These ideas, tactics, and strategies help you make more money, have more free time, and give back. If you like today's program, spread the word. Please review this podcast on any device you're listening to it on. Help a fellow contractor make more money too. For comments or questions, call me at 770-729-0258 or email Ruth King at hvacchannel.tv. Thanks for listening. Have a great and profitable day.